right, so real quick, just a little bit about me. I'm Justin. I was an educator for 15 years. For the first 12, I taught special education, and then I transferred over to history and English language arts. Did that for 12 years at a middle school in just south of Chicago. Then in the last 3 years, I was a tech coach, and then I was lucky enough to make this jump over to Quizizz, which has been absolutely amazing. Little extra about me. Like I said, I live just outside the city of Chicago. I am the dad to two toddlers. I have a 3-year-old and a 1-year-old. They are absolutely insane, but thankfully they both sleep through the night now, so life is really, really good. Now I jinxed it because I'm sure we'll hit another sleep regression. And then lastly, I am a major Star Wars nerd. I will confess, there was a radio contest and they were giving away Star Wars movies, and I actually was able to answer the questions correctly. They did some trivia questions. So if you want to nerd out on deep Star Wars lore later, feel free in the chat. We can discuss. All right, so here's our session overview. We're going to talk about how we can utilize AI to solve problems that all teachers face. Team Star Wars and Star Trek. I have never seen a single Star Trek thing. I'm a little ashamed to admit that. But all right, so the goal for today, we're going to use AI to solve problems that teachers face when it comes to data-driven instruction. And how can we do that? And then we're going to talk about how AI is now built in, our AI integration into Quizizz. We've got passages and sourcing material. We've got tagging standards and analyzing student data, which if I had that when I was still a special education teacher, I might still be a special education teacher. And then lastly, how can we use it to enhance assessments? So for example, going back to Star Wars, I can show you if you do an assessment and you want it to be a little fun and goofy, you can make all the questions written as if Yoda was speaking to your students. So, sometimes you got to have fun in school. I know sometimes we forget that, or I know sometimes I forgot that, but it's okay to have fun in school. So we'll talk about how the AI can do that too. So those 3 bullet points right there, passages and sourcing material, tagging standards, student data, and enhancing the assessments is what we're going to focus on today. All right. So my question to you guys is, how have you used AI previously in your educational role? Now, before I click next and that question gets asked on your quizzes, don't fret. If you've never used it before, that is totally okay. That is why I am here. That is why Quizizz is here for you. I know you might work in a district where AI might be a bad word, or it could be something that maybe people don't know a lot about, so they're kind of hesitant, and that is totally okay. That's something I used to tell my students. If you don't know about it, you might be a little worried about it, might be a little afraid of it. But that's what we're here today. We're going to show you how it can be a good thing and how it can make your life easier. All right, so go ahead and answer that question. If you are in the Quizizz activity, I will go ahead and paste it one more time in the chat. I know everyone else is too. But how have you used AI in the past? Maybe you used it to write something. Maybe you used it to create a list for you. There's really a variety of ways that you can use it. I know in the chat, Tanya said she used it for homework for herself and some lesson planning. Yeah, it's amazing what you can ask it to do. Everything from image generation to, building out the ideal grocery list. I'm not saying you should use that for school, but IEP goal ideas, Lindsay, that is an incredible answer. That was probably, for me, having to be prepared for IEP meetings was probably the thing that worried me the most, and making sure my goals were essential to the student. We tried to use SMART goals, so we had a target of where we wanted them to go. But being able to bounce ideas off an AI, at first hearing that, you're like, that's ridiculous. But then you realize it's actually not a bad idea, right? We have someone said, let's see, using it to create writing prompts. I love that. Lesson planning and teaching strategies. Man, you guys are pros. I might have to have you run the webinar. I might have to learn some stuff from you guys. Edwina, I apologize if I said your name wrong. I used it to create an escape room. That is, oh my gosh, there is nothing more exciting than like the few times I did escape rooms as a history teacher, the kids would lose their minds. So being able to have a reference point to help you build out those things is awesome. And that is what I love about Quizizz is we have this AI feature now built in, and it can make your life easier. Generating great images using AI, yes. It's pretty funny. You can find some amazing stuff that it generates, and then there's other things that you'll see that'll haunt your dreams, right? Because it can create some scary stuff as well. All right, we've got about a minute left, and then we'll end that question because I'm actually very curious to see what you thought about this. So let's go ahead and show all the answers here. Create questions, rewrite questions. I love that. Got a few no's, few nopes. That's okay. That's why you're here. I've used it to create quizzes, labs, and lesson planning. Love it. In the classroom, it allowed my students to show them how to create an outline. Yes, I think that's the one big thing for me is allowing students to dabble in it, so they're not necessarily afraid of it, and they get an idea of what it's for. So I know, like for me, immediately you want to think, great, they're going to use it to write an essay or copy homework from somewhere. And yeah, you're always going to have students that do that, or they're going to try and find a way to circumvent the system. But if you're teaching the kids how to use it properly to get help for their things, that is such a powerful, powerful tool that can be used for good. Okay, I've not used it. I have used it personally, but not at my school. In quizzes to help with answers and case study development. Yes, that's a big one. All right, cool. We got a little bit of everything here. I'm digging this. All right. This is my next question, and then we'll talk a little bit more about it. If you haven't used it before, what has kept you from trying it? Has it been maybe, edicts from administration or from district office that say, hey, we're not really sure. We haven't been able to vet this yet. Is it maybe a little bit of a fear of the unknown? And if you have used it, that's okay. Just say you've used it before. Not a big deal there. But I'm very curious, as somebody who has really started to embrace it, if you haven't tried it, what has kind of kept you from that at this point? I'll give you guys a few moments here. We won't take as long with this one because it looks like we had quite a few people that were using it. I totally get that, Tanya. No time to play. Like I want to be to being a student and a teacher. I totally get that. Dana, that's a very important one, the Student Privacy Information Act. Yes. I remember as a tech coach dealing with in Illinois, we were always dealing with SOPA and getting DPAs signed and things like that from different apps and programs of that nature. That can definitely be a hurdle. I totally get that. That is the one nice thing about Quizizz. I know we are no stranger to signing DPAs. At the conference I was just at, or I'm still at, down here in New Orleans, we were just talking about that with some folks that came up and were talking to us and making sure that Quizizz is available to DPAs and things like that. Totally understand that. All right, we're going to go ahead and end the question and view your responses. Let's see. Whoop. I got too many things open. There we go. I've used it, but it's intimidating if I'm honest. Yes, I totally get that. It can be really intimidating, especially if you're not putting enough constraints on the AI. Sometimes what you're going to get is just going to be all over the place, right? And that can be really, really extremely frustrating. Just too busy to sit down with it, to be honest. I'm going to be honest. I love that answer. The one thing that I love about working at Quizizz and being a former teacher is, and I'm sure everybody here, whether you're a teacher, an admin, a dean, a tech coach, a reading specialist, different type of service provider, everyone's being pulled in opposite directions, right? I know, like one year as a middle school teacher, I had 4 preps on top of you know, bus duty, lunch duty, door duty in the morning, recess duty. There's just no time, right? So while that is something I definitely agree with you, your time is limited. The one good thing is once you start utilizing the AI that Quizizz has, you're going to get that time back, and I will show that all to you very, very shortly. I know we're kind of preloading this with questions, so. Maria in the chat and says, of course, the AI in Quizizz to generate additional questions when I create a test is spot on. I love it. That's what we want to hear. That's what we want to hear. All right, so let's talk about this. So how can AI be tough to use effectively? I think this is something that we all deal with. The quality and accuracy, you want to know where the heck is this coming from? I know that was something when I was a tech coach. I remember talking with my director of technology and being like, I found this amazing resource that will save teachers time. But there was this extreme fear of, I don't know if it's going to be pulling from trustworthy sites. Should the kids even be seeing this stuff? So it's really tough there. There's also, I know as a former teacher, being able to align to your state standards, your state curriculum is huge. And what I love about Quizizz is we can generate reports when you tag standards on your assessments that can show exactly how each student is doing on their assessment and on certain standards. So if you have a parent-teacher conference coming up, or if you have an IEP meeting and goals are being rewritten, you can literally pull up all of your assessments that you had a certain student do, look at the standards that were tagged, and you can get an exact percentage of how they're doing on each standard, which that's a complete game changer because you don't want to go into an important meeting with just anecdotal evidence saying like, oh, well, Jimmy did a great job on this quiz, or, oh, he got this many wrong on this test. that's important. You have data, but having that solid, really being able to tie it to a standard is huge. And then lastly, and I think a lot of you guys already talked about this a little bit in some of your answers, is that fear of the unknown. If you're not familiar with it, it's kind of you're not knowing what it's capable of, and that's scary, right? The fear of the unknown is probably that was the biggest hurdle I had when I started using it. So I'm hoping after today, when we get through with this, you can ask me any questions, but I'm hoping when we're done, you will feel much better and you will have an idea of how you can use AI in quizzes. All right, so for today, we're going to show you how to generate articles that show you the source and allow you how to assess the quality of the information. We are going to show you how you can tag materials with your state standards that will then provide data. And I'll show you where to go to surface that data so you can figure out how to tackle the next lesson that your students need. So that is our target. Those are our 3 targets for today. If for some reason we don't hit one of those before time is up, please let me know and I will be happy to practice and go over it with you again. Okay? All right, let's dive in. All right. The first thing I want to show you guys today is passages. That is one of our new features. Now, I will preface this by saying it is only a part of the school and district team. So if that is something, we need to reach out and talk to district admin for you or school principals, please don't hesitate to let us know. But what I love about passages is that it can generate AI written articles for any topic. And it will also show you exactly where the sources come from. So let me show you how that works. So again, no more worrying. You're going to get exactly where the AI pulled it. And I'm going to show you right now how that works. Let me switch my screen. Let's switch to this one. Actually, you might still be able to see it. Let's see. What screen am I sharing now? Apologies. I only got my one monitor here. Okay, we're still good. All right, so everybody can hopefully see my Quizizz screen now. So I'm going to go to create. And again, if you have a school and district plan, you already have access to this feature. If you don't have access to it, this might be something we could show district admin that you might want. So go into Passage. And what I love about this is there's 3 options right off the bat. You can search our Quizizz library, which I'm sure most of you are familiar. We have thousands upon thousands of articles that are already written with assessments and quizzes and questions. On the flip side, another thing I love is because you're going to have teachers who have been around for 5, 10, 15, 20 years. They have awesome material already. They can import that and have the AI tackle it. But what I love, because I am a total tech AI nerd, is this generating with AI passage. So let me show you how this works. In particular, I can tell you a little bit about how my class used to run. When I was an ELA teacher for a little bit, I love to do like current events, which kind of ties into history a little bit, but also just like, hey, find me an article that is about something you're passionate about. I want to learn more about you, a little bit of rapport building, but also secretly getting them to research a little bit too, a little bit of a trick I used to always do with them. But sometimes if you have a student who is laser focused on a specific topic, they're not going to be able to find an article that's relevant, right? They might find something that's either way below grade level or way above grade level. And unfortunately, that's just a bummer to them because they want to share something really important to them, but they don't have it, right? So what I love about this is as a teacher, you can go in and create that article for them using AI. So for example, if one thing I remember we used to do is we did a little bit of SEL about social media and kind of the pros and cons and dangers of social media. So for example, if I entered the topic of, let's go with the negative effects of social media and negative effects of social media on students. All right, so there's my topic. That's what the AI is going to pretty much focus on, right? Now, I can take it a step further and tell the AI I want it to use these specific words. So maybe, for example, I am not of the TikTok generation. I am old school MySpace top 8. I will be the first to admit that. But I know my students at the time were really big into TikTok. So maybe I want to focus on, there's great things about TikTok, but what are some of the negative things that maybe are affecting our students? And I want the AI to specifically reference TikTok. I'm going to go down here. Now, this is the other thing. I see John laughing at my MySpace. Yes. Oh, man. If you got taken out of someone's top 8, those were fighting words. But anyway, what I love about this, first off, is I can output this article that the AI is going to generate in all these different languages. And I can tell you, if there is a language that you need that we do not currently have, you can email support@quizizz.com and they will work on getting these. Antoinette says, are the students able to use AI to search for articles to create their own? No. So this is something the teacher has access to. The students do not have access to this. No. So this is something the teacher would be generating based on, if you had one particular student that needed help finding an article, or if you wanted to generate something, maybe your curriculum was lacking something, you could come to this. That's a really good question. So yeah, we have all these different languages, which for me, I love because I know the last district I worked in, we had a very large Ukrainian population that was coming in. And God bless our ELL teachers. They were trying so hard. They had their phones out with Google Translate. They were trying to, speak to them, ask them questions, and get them to respond. But then you come up with this issue where it's like, okay, if these students are struggling, are they struggling due to academic issues and we need to maybe open up a case study for an IEP? Or is it solely just that they're not getting it in their native language and they're still trying to learn English? So that is something that happens, I'm sure, everywhere, right? So if I had a student coming from Turkey and I wanted to set this article to Turkish so that they could still be a part of the class, still read the same content, but it's in their native language, to me, like that's a complete game changer. I absolutely love that, right? For the sake of this article, because I am very bad in the little Spanish and French I know, we're going to stick to English. We're going to keep it nonfiction, so it's pulling factual data. We're going to keep it at sixth grade just because I'm selfish and that's what I used to teach. We'll keep it as English. Here you can adjust how many paragraphs you want it to be. Maybe I want it to be 7 paragraphs. And then to me, this is the game changer, not to steal a term from our Quizizz community on YouTube. Toggle that on, and now it's going to generate the passage. And before it does that, it's also going to give you some additional little topics that you might be focusing on in your class. So maybe I'm focusing on citing text evidence, and I also want to, let's say, compare perspectives. I hit continue, and in real time, it's going to start to generate those articles. It's going to find them. It's going to scrape the web, find them, and then start to combine them into a coherent article for a sixth grade class. What I love about this, and I will show you right off the bat, is you'll see the articles, you'll see where they came from, and you can click and check out the websites as well as a teacher. Again, the students won't see this. They will only see what you give them. They won't be able to use this to create anything. It's all on the teacher side. But what's great is I was doing a demonstration for someone at our conference today, and one of the articles that pulled, we were looking at it. I'm like, I don't know if that would be necessarily appropriate for that grade level. But with a simple click of a button, you can trash that source and regenerate the article. So here we go. It titled it The Impact of Social Media on Youth Mental Health. We have all this here. It's also got a little bit of where the sources came from. So if I wanted to click on it, I could. It's directing me to the National Library of Medicine. I could kind of look at that as a teacher and be like, all right, that seems like I can vet that. That seems pretty good. But maybe I come up here and I'm like, oh, this JED Foundation, I looked at it. I'm not quite sure what it is. All I would have to do is click that trash can. It removes all of that source, and then it regenerates the article with these final two sources, which I think is awesome. If you have a curriculum that maybe wants you to focus on financial literacy, but maybe you don't have the resources, you can come here, target the AI to generate you an article on financial literacy at your grade level and with specific keywords. It will do the work for you and find that and create it for you, which I absolutely love. Oh, you know what? I apologize. Someone says, at what conference are you attending and presenting? I am at LAQ down in New Orleans yesterday, today, and tomorrow before I head back up north. All right. Thank you for answering, or thank you for asking that question. So that is how the Passages AI works. And again, like I said, it is in our school and district plan. It's one of our newer features. What I love is not only does it generate you an article, but then with the click of a button, I can hit continue, and it's also going to generate questions for me. And if I like them, great. If I don't, maybe I don't like this question, I can either change it, I can change the question type, I can make it where are we at here? I can make it open-ended, I can do a variety of things, which I know for me, like right off the bat, I always had a hard time trying to find something valuable for my students when I was out of the building, or if I was at a conference, or if I was out sick or in an IEP meeting. You could literally generate an article, leave them one that you've generated the questions, you've gone through it, you've taken a look through it, and then you can see how well they did. Even if the sub is there, you can still get the data, you can still get the assessment done and taken care of, even when you're not in the classroom, which I love. Also, a little bonus fact for you guys, if you do use open-ended questions like this one, we have the auto-evaluate feature with AI as well, which I wanted to bring up because this is an AI webinar. It's so cool. You can literally put in keywords, and when the AI goes to look at this, when the students are done, it will look for those keywords and kind of help you gauge whether or not the student got it right or wrong. If they didn't use those keywords, it can kind of flag that student and let you know, like, maybe they struggled with this, maybe they had trouble. Also, on a side note, we now have the audio questions. Let's see where they at. Audio response. The AI can now also evaluate audio responses too. That literally just came out yesterday morning. I think I checked my Quizizz account at like 8 a.m. and it was there. So if you have students who maybe struggle with typing or struggle with writing or have IEP goals where they need an OT, they can literally speak into it and the AI will actually transcribe it and then evaluate it for you, which holy cow, I've been playing around with that. It is so much fun. I absolutely love it. Let me see. Leah, yes, I agree. That is the best. Anonymous attendee says, do you view each response in reports? Yes, I'm so glad you brought that up. That is what I'm going to show you in the very near future. Great question. All right, let's move on. I hope you guys can still see my quizzes here, and I know you should be able to on your screen. So, okay, my next question for you guys, if you don't mind sharing your response, is how do you tackle a situation where the majority of your class is ready to move on, but you still have that small group of students struggling? I think this is something every teacher deals with. And I know in my own experience, it's really tough because you might have, gosh, I think one year I had a class of 35 in one of my classes, which was rough. But say you have a class of 30, and you might have two-thirds of that class might be like ready to go, they got it. And you might have a third that's still really struggling. And it's tough because what do you do? Do you move on? Do you go forward? But then you're kind of, how do you make sure those kids that are struggling are still going to get the help they need? Right. And again, going back to that timepiece, as a teacher, you're being pulled in every single direction possible. It's really difficult. So how do you tackle that situation in particular? While you guys are writing, I'm going to start reading some of your responses here. All right, let's see. We have a flex period twice a week where we can flag kids to come down. I love that. That is awesome. I think that is something a lot of schools, I know ones that I used to work in, we would have benefited from that. Teaching virtually, I have designated times to pull small groups. That is awesome. Let's see. I have the opposite problem where most of my kids are not ready to move on, but I have to due to lack of time. Oh, yeah, I remember those days where I know, and when I was still a history teacher, you would have a set curriculum, and it would be okay. Well, by winter break, you better be done with ancient Greece because when we come back, we need to go into ancient Rome, and we got to move on. So what do you do, right? It literally broke my heart because you'd have kids that were like, I don't understand this, and then you're caught between a rock and a hard place, right? It's like I need to move on because that's the edict that's been passed down, but it's so hard, right? It is so hard. Dana in the chat says we have an RTI scheduler storm period. That is great. I know the last year where I was a classroom teacher before I made the jump to tech coach, we were trying to get an advisory, and it was really tough. Let's see. I've utilized a quiz on the fly based on the material and made it available. I like that. I give the ones ready to move on a game or review to work on, and I have my co-teacher and I help those classes. Love it. I have myself or the aide reteach in a small group. Yep, I definitely have been there. Can you switch to a live lesson into a student-paced mode to have students finish it? That is a great question, Brenda. I will have to find out for you. I don't know if you can switch it once it has started. But I like that idea, and that might be something I can talk to the product team about. Thank you so much. I like that. Give those ready an independent activity related to the next topic. Review with the stragglers. Okay. I like that. Okay. Yeah, Brenda, I agree. That would be fantastic. You're spot on. Okay, so it looks like, oh, I like this one. Give them a quiz. Oh, the scoreboard just popped up. Give them a quiz for reinforcement. Have them come to help come to a help session. All right. Well, I'm so glad you brought that up. Whoop. Sorry. All right. Let's move on. I got it because I want to show you this. This is pretty cool. All right. So what I love about this is being able to stop and assess where kids are in real time. So this is one of our whiteboard features. I will be the first to admit there's a reason I was never a math teacher in the 15 years I was in education. But using your screen or your mouse, or if you're on your phone, your touch screen, go ahead and use our whiteboard to solve this problem. 137 minus 99. I apologize. I know I'm making you do math, and in some places it's after school hours. So if you were like me, your brain might have shut off a little bit. That is okay. This is a judgment-free zone. If you get it wrong, don't stress. It's quite okay. But go ahead and this again, this I want to highlight this just because it's a cool way to do this. But what I love about quizzes is if I'm doing this as a lesson, I can literally stop in real time and check for understanding, right? And again, going back to that piece of what do you do when you have students struggling, this will allow you, at least if you're in a lesson format, you can go in, stop, check for understanding, and see where they should be. So let's go ahead and see our responses here. I love it. Yes, 38, 38. Man, gold stars for all of you guys. All right. But the reason I bring this up, and if you're looking at my screen in particular, I can see right now exactly how my class is doing. Now, I would say you guys are amazing. Everyone got the correct answer. We can move on. But if I had 20 people say, they got 12, I can say to my either my co-teacher or if I'm lucky enough to have an 8 in the classroom, hey, remember, write these kids' names down. We're going to have to go back and do a small group later, right? So again, you can do this in real time. This is just one of the whiteboard activities that Quizizz offers. Yeah, you guys knocked it out of the park. I think we have a lot of math teachers in here. I definitely am not one of them. I'm glad you got it right. All right, we're going to end that question a little bit early. So the whiteboard is one of our questions. Tanya, I can show you where that's at the end if that's okay. I will make a mental note of that, and I will be happy to show you that. So like I said, we can utilize that. We can utilize the activities to see how students are doing in real time and then work on additional problems if needed. And again, that kind of goes back to that ability to, if you're doing a lesson, you can have the kids all doing this lesson together. We're stopping and checking for understanding. We're able to gauge where they're at and we can kind of plan accordingly, right? So I love that feature. Just in general, that's something Quizizz can do, but maybe something you forgot about, maybe something you're unsure of. I'm heading to work now as it's morning in China. Please send me the recording. Yes, I believe, and I can, if our Quizizz team wants to correct me, but I believe as long as you were signed up for the webinar, you will get a link to the webinar recording. So you will get to listen to me all over again. Yep. Carrie said she will email. Yep, we'll get it taken care of. All right, let's go on to this last piece here that I want to show you guys. This one is probably my favorite thing in terms of what AI can do is being able to generate data to figure out what skills your students are struggling with. So I know when I got out of college and I originally went to college to be a history teacher, which after about 7 years, I was able to finally get into that role. But initially I had to go back to school to get my special education endorsement to be a special education teacher so I could find a teaching job. And when I came in, this was, again, we're talking about 15 years ago, we, being able to look at data in terms of how our IEP students were doing was extremely difficult. I still remember having a teacher, my first co-teacher, my first year out of college, sitting down with her and saying, okay, this student's goal is being able to read informational text at this percentage, right? And she'd say, oh, well, we're not doing informational text until like second semester. And as the newbie, I'm like, well, that's going to be a problem because his IEP annual review is in October. And if you're not doing those skills until later, that's going to be a problem. So then we had to turn to curriculum-based measures and different things we could do weekly. But what I love is you could do something like that with Quizizz. If you had certain targets or certain standards you want your students to focus on, you could do a bi-monthly quiz just to gather that data. So then when you are at that IEP meeting or that conference or parents are asking for them to have a schedule change because they want them to be in a higher class, you now have all that data that you can surface and show to them. So I'm going to show that to you. And then we should end a little bit early. So if you guys have any questions, I will do my best to answer those as well. All right, let's go on here. All right. So you know what? Let's end this question here. Hold on. We're going to go back for a second. Let me show you how this works first. Okay, so this is my regular Quizizz screen. Let's say that I created an assessment. I had all my students work on it. I tagged certain standards to it so that I can present that data should I need to. Let's go ahead and take a look at what the reports actually look like. So some of this, it might be a little bit newer. You might not have seen this yet. I'm hoping that's the case because then I can kind of show you how it's pretty unique. But again, I'd go into reports. And if you've never done this before, this is where the housing of every single thing you've pushed out to your students is. You'll notice a lot of mine are quizzes that I make my colleagues take so I can practice. So I apologize to them. But here's one in particular, inferences in textual evidence that we did a little while back. The first thing you're going to see, and again, this probably isn't familiar, but it's going to surface this all at kind of a 30,000 foot view. You're going to see the accuracy overall of your class. You're going to see the completion rate, which I love because I might be able to go to my class and say, okay, 24% of you took this quiz. This is a grade. What are we doing? Right. And I can also see how many I assigned it to and how many questions there are. But this is what I love is down here. So first off, right off the bat, it's going to break down every single student and how they did. Very surface level, nothing too crazy. It will also surface how many attempts they took. So for example, if they bombed on the first one and you add them to retake it, it will surface both quizzes for you. No problems there. But again, that's nothing too crazy. But what I love is this analyze with AI feature. So when you have your class take it, you have to have, I believe it's 20% of the class has to take the quiz. Actually, yes, I know it is definitely 20% because I had to ask a few people to take it to make sure we hit that limit. So if you have 20% of your class take an assessment and 90% of them, oh, hold on, let me try that again. 20% of your class takes that quiz or that assessment and the overall score is below 90%, the Analyze with AI feature will turn itself on. So what that does is you click a button and it will say, okay, we're going to analyze to see what areas did your students struggle in. So it's going to look at the standards I tagged, and it's going to surface exactly which students struggled. So right off the bat, this particular skill of making inferences about a character's traits based on what they do in a story, well, right off the bat, the AI was able to tell me, Alyssa, Justin, Kyle, and Natalie need extra help with that. So I love this because I haven't even graded it yet. I haven't even looked at it yet, but the AI has already surfaced this data. So immediately I know, okay, well, I need to pull Alyssa, Justin, Kyle, and Natalie, and we're going to do a small group. Maybe I have my paraprofessional or my aide, if I'm lucky to have one. Maybe they're kind of doing some additional practice. Now, before I go on, you might be thinking, well, Justin, that's kind of rough because if we have this information, that's great. But now I have to make additional practice or maybe additional materials that I don't have. Au contraire, the quizzes will do it for you. So you literally just hit find practice quizzes. It will surface a variety of quizzes that are also tagged by that standard, and you can send that out to those individual students. Is this only for the district plan? I will get back to you on that. I don't know if the Analyze with AI feature is. I know our passages feature is on the school and district plan, as is accommodations, but I'm not 100% sure yet on an Analyze with AI. So I can find out and post that in a little bit if that's okay with you. I apologize, Sarah. So again, this particular assessment, I just tagged two standards. This was inferring emotions from text. I can look right here. Okay, Alyssa, Amber, and Laura struggled with this one, so maybe I need to pull a separate group, or I need to send out some additional practice to them that they can do maybe at home or during a study hall or for homework or things of that nature. So again, going back to what we discussed a little bit in the beginning, that idea that you're kind of getting a little bit of time back is huge, right? Because as a teacher, like I said, you're pulled in every direction. You want to be the best teacher you can be for your students, but sometimes there's not physically enough time in the day. So this is kind of where I love the fact that you can kind of work collaboratively with AI, probably a phrase you never thought you'd say, but you can kind of use that AI collaboratively to kind of take some of the burden off of you and generate that material that can benefit them, right? And then lastly, this is a new feature we rolled out. It's still in beta, but going back to the standards you tagged, you're going to get to be able to see how did my students do on each individual standard. You'll notice this is through Common Core state standards. That's just because I'm from Illinois and at the time they were using it. So that's what I used to generate this activity. But I can get an idea of how my each individual class is doing. And if I scroll down a little bit further, I can see exactly how my students are doing in a particular standard based on the questions that are tagged. So I love that because now if I go into an IEP meeting and I know I have a student whose IEP goal is based on citing textual evidence, that is completely there and that is ready to go. Gene, that is a great question. Can you add different standards? Yes. So for example, if you are, and Sarah, this is a great question. I was just going to answer this one too. If you are building your own material, most of the state standards are already in there. If you're building your own, so you can tag your state standards. We are still working on adding more state standards to our AI generation. So that is the only time where you might not be able to find your standards. So if you're building out your own lesson, You can go in and tag your own state standards. That is not a problem. It's only when you're using the AI generation to build your lesson that is where you might find that. Oh, and thank you, Gabi, in the chat. AI Analyze is available with the school and district plan. So that answers, I believe it was Sarah's question. So thank you, Gabi. I appreciate that. But yeah, so Gene and Sarah, going back to your question, we have, I believe, almost every state in terms of our standards. When you're building out a lesson, can be tagged in there. But if you're using the generative AI, there's only a certain amount of standards. But what I can tell you is, because we told this today to quite a few people at our conference, is we are in the process of trying to figure out what states we need first for our AI generation. So if we get tons of emails from amazing teachers saying, hey, I really want my state standards in the AI generation, there's a good chance your state might move near the top of the list in terms of things that we need to implement first. So again, just because your state might not be in there yet, don't panic. Where there's a will, there's a way. And I believe the email is support@quizizz.com. Let them know. The same goes for if there's a language that we don't have access to for translation, please let us know. Email. You know what? I'll go ahead and put that in the chat as well. I believe it's Quizizz. Nope. So hold on. Support@quizizz.com. There you go. And again, just tell them, hey, this is my state. I'd really be interested in hoping that maybe you could add that to the AI generation, and the same thing for any languages you need. Sarah says, I have several banded classes. Can AI help me adapt a 7th grade lesson to a 6th grade? Oh, Sarah, yes, we can. Yes, we can. Let me show you how that works. I'm so glad you brought that up. I wasn't necessarily going to show this feature, but because you asked, I'm going to show you. All right, so if you didn't see Sarah's question says, I have several classes. Can AI help me adapt something that is in 7th grade? Can we adapt it to 6th grade? Yes, but let me explain. There is a little bit of a caveat here. We can only do this currently with ELA, but who's to say? I don't know what's coming down the pipeline, but let me just stress this is only an ELA feature right now. So let me pull one of my ELA quizzes, and I apologize, I have a bunch of stuff all over the place here. All right, so here's my ELA quiz on inferencing and textual evidence. Sorry, it's been a very long day. If you have an ELA quiz, you can create leveled variants, which I believe this is going to answer your question, Sarah. So if I go to create, I have some options here. So here's my 6th grade level quiz. I can go into the grade level and I can choose a variety of other grades within reason. But maybe again, if I'm at a 6th grade level and I have some students at the 4th grade reading level, I can tag the 4th grade, keep it 5 questions, and in real time, it will then generate that quiz again, but at the 4th grade reading level. So it might change some of the dialogue, it might change some of the vocabulary, but the overall question in standard will still be the same. Okay, and again, I know that's more for adapting something to a different grade level, not necessarily like different subject matter, but that's kind of how that works. On the flip side, if you have a 6th grade class and you maybe have some students who are really showing they're going above and beyond, maybe they've had some parent requests to move into an honors program, you can also generate that in a higher level and see how they do. And on the flip side, it'll make the text a little bit harder. It'll make some of the dialogue choices a little bit more difficult, and it'll ask a little bit tougher questions, all while still tying to those state standards that you chose. Okay? I hope that answers your question, Sarah. If it doesn't, please let me know and I will be happy. I have several students that this is needed for. Yes, this is, I will be the first to admit, as a special ed teacher, that was probably one of the biggest time sinks, was having an assignment come up or an assessment come up and say, okay, we need it at this level and this level. And especially if it was hard copy, oh my gosh, getting out the whiteout, getting out the pen, trying to change answers, sometimes rewriting the entire quiz because I needed to make it specifically for a specific student. I had no problem doing it, but that was such a time sink that maybe, I'd be lacking in other areas. Now, like you said, this just did it in real time, and I can still go in and change it even more if I want. Jason says, can you have it adjust the standard down as well? I don't think we're there yet, but I love that idea. But I don't think we're there yet in terms of tying it to the standard and having the standard change yet. I teach mixed classes, 6th and 7th grade ELA and 9 through 12 ELA. So yeah, so if you were teaching the same topic, you could definitely adjust it to different reading levels. But yeah, so I hope that helps. Jason, I really like that idea though. That might be something I mentioned to our product team. So I know we wrapped up a few minutes early, like 10 minutes early or so. You are welcome to stick around if you have questions you'd like to ask. Don't forget, like I said, the I know Carrie mentioned the recording will be emailed out. So if there was something you saw here and in a couple of weeks you want to go back and look at it because maybe you forgot after the holidays or whatever. Oh, Tanya, yes, let me show you the whiteboard. Thank you. Tanya, you rock. Thank you. All right. So if I go into create a new activity, my whiteboard is literally, where did it go? Oh, you know what? I think it's in my lesson. I apologize. I don't use the whiteboard too often, but let me double check. Yep, here we go. If I create from scratch, and I build out my lesson, this is where the whiteboard is going to be. So I can literally go to my slides. I can add a new slide. I can choose for it to be a blank title slide. I can scroll down here. I can add interactive video. And then this is where you'll find the word cloud, the whiteboard, and things like that. So that is in there so the students can use. If I create a topic using this program, who owns the work product? That is a great question. I know from my end, what I'm aware of is that you can decide whether or not other people can access it, or if you'd like to keep it in your own personal library. In terms of like an IP, in terms of like who owns the material you create, that is a great question. I will actually, maybe I can reach out to the legal team and find out for you, Jeff. That is a great question. I honestly don't know off the top of my head though on that one. But Tanya, if you want to use the whiteboard, all you need to do is when you go into your lesson, you can select it. And again, that will enable them, kind of like how you guys did the whiteboard activity doing the subtraction problem. This is where you would find it. This is where you would be able to see it. Okay? Any other questions? 281. Thank you. I will be sure to let you know. I will take a screenshot of it. How did today's participants access it? So yeah, so that was literally just similar to this. I created a lesson that I had our stuff in there. And that was it. It was just in there. Oh, yes, Leah, notice the switch to student pace mode. So when you go in to create an activity and you're ready to start it, so for example, if I was ready to start this AI webinar, I could go in and decide like this was a lesson, but if I had an assessment that I wanted to use, let's just pick one here at random. Let's see here. Nope, don't want that. Hold on. Sorry, I know we're jumping around a little bit here. Let's say I have my quiz on Aztec, Mayan, and Inca civilization. When I go to publish it and assign it, I can choose if I want to assign it or do it. Let's see, let's try this. Start now. Yep. So if I'm starting this would be just classic mode and test mode because it's an actual quiz. If I wanted it to be a lesson or assignment, that is where you will see the features there. Under the create from scratch next to the whiteboard, it said you can switch anytime. Oh, thanks, Leah. See, I didn't even know that was an option. Thank you. I am learning something new today too. You rock. I love the Quizizz community. You guys are so cool. So awesome, so friendly, so helpful. Thank you. Any other questions? Anything else I can be of service for? And again, even if I don't know the answer, I will be able to find a way to get you someone who does, and I can always get back to you on it. Can I make a virtual manipulative of a crime scene? That is a great question. You might be able to do something similar based on our question types. Let me show you. So if I create, so what I'm thinking you might be able to do, Gene, and I apologize if I'm saying your name wrong. I hope I'm not. But what you could do is you could do something like, let's see, our labeling activity. So if you were to put in maybe an image and then provide labels, you could do it that way in terms of the manipulatives. I don't think you're able to move pieces around necessarily, but you could move labels around. You could also, let's see, what's another one you could do? I believe hotspot would also work as well. Hotspot's kind of cool because that's more of a labeling where you're able to tag certain buttons. So maybe you want to have an image of a specific crime scene and you're looking for them to name a specific thing, they could go ahead and put things in there. Other thought, have the accommodation profiles be able to adjust the level on the material on the fly. Ooh, I like that. I like that. I will definitely pass that along as well. Yeah, the accommodations features have come a long way. I know they're still relatively new. I do know there's more stuff in the works. So that might be something that's coming. That I don't know for sure, but I can definitely bring that up as well. And I think like this is one of the great things is obviously a lot of the people that work at Quizizz are former teachers, former educators, and being able to work with other educators such as yourselves get those ideas and be able to figure out a way to implement those. I think that's just it's an awesome sense of collaboration between former teachers and current teachers on how we can make things better for teachers and students and educators in general, because it's really tough to be a teacher right now. I totally can level with you on that one. I know how tough it is. So again, I thank you so much for being here. I hope you learned something. You guys will also get the link to the webinar soon. Will they be adding variants to other content areas beyond English? Currently, we're saying all of our assessments are English teachers. Currently, it is all under ELA in terms of level variants. I can definitely pass it along that there is a request, a demand, a need for variants for other areas. Oh, Carrie right there. That's on the roadmap. Carrie's more tapped in than I am. She's the go-to. Yeah, I love that. Thank you for asking, Brenda. It's awesome to see what the needs are of the community and how we can help out. So I definitely like that. And it's so exciting to know there's more to come. I can't tell you, that is one of the things that I love about Quizizz is, I'll wake up some mornings and a new feature has either been added or is being tested currently, in just how fast people are working to try and get those things done. So Sarah says, I wish as a teacher I could pay for those district features. That is one thing I know. Even today in our conference, we kind of talked about with teachers who were disappointed that their district's not paying. We do have the possibility if you have a school admin that's more willing as opposed to a district admin, excuse me, that is something we can definitely, if you reach out, I'm sure that is something we could discuss. But no, I totally understand. I totally understand where you're coming from there. But thankfully, on the plus side, the assessments, the flashcards, okay, I totally get that. But assessments, flashcards, interactive video, and the I'm drawing a blank here. Lessons is thankfully still free. If you do hit that 20 limit in terms of assessments you build, you can always archive or delete them and remove them to gain more free space. Sarah said, is there a discussion for teachers to pay? Teachers can still currently pay for a teacher plan. It still does not, though, it's not going to have as many features as the school and district plan. I know the accommodations is one. In particular, we want to try and focus on more of the school and district level, just because the hope is that if the school and district level is using it, it's benefiting all the students with accommodations in the entire school, in the entire district, as opposed to just one class. That's kind of something we've been messaging in our conference today that we had in New Orleans. But yeah, any other questions? Happy to oblige. I do not have the lottery numbers, if that's anyone's question coming up, but happy to answer whatever else I can in terms of quizzes or put you in the direction of someone else that does have an answer. So yeah, thank you so much. Favorite Star Wars characters? Oh, Carrie, this is why we get along so well. Are we going like deep into the lore, Carrie, or are we sticking? Thank you, Patricia, Barbara, Tanya. Thank you so much, Janine. Thank you guys for coming. It was a blast and a privilege to get to share this info with you again. Please feel free to reach out. If you are on Blue Sky at Justin MC, that is me. If you have questions, I am happy to answer them on there. That's my Quizizz Blue Sky account. Happy to help however I can. Don't hesitate to reach out. That's what we're here for. Yes, we will definitely have the recording ready to go. No worries. Brandy, yes, you will get your PD certificate through email as well. I know that is something, I believe the last one as well. I believe maybe Gabi or Carrie can answer that, but I believe that does come through email. That is correct. Yeah, David, the whiteboard feature is awesome. I love it. As somebody who has awful handwriting, it makes me a little self-conscious, but thank you, Sarah. I appreciate it. Thank you so much. Thank you, Brandy. Okay, there you go from Gabi. The PD certificates will be sent later this week to your email. You'll have them ready to go. Wayne, thank you for coming. I appreciate it. And yeah, it's been a blast. It's been a pleasure. Thank you guys so much. Yes, Michelle, I think that's the one big thing that I love with the webinars that both myself today and Carrie had done the last two times is we've added a lot of stuff this year. And even previously, before I had this role at Quizizz, a lot of these things I didn't even know Quizizz had. So I think it's just getting that messaging out there that we're here and we got some great stuff. So spread the word. All right. Thank you guys so much. If anything else comes up, again, don't hesitate to ask. Happy to help however I can. I just realized my head was cut off, so I apologize there. Let's see, we have two in the Q&A. So can you view each? Oh, yep, that is the one we already talked about. Okay. All right. Well, on that note, thank you guys so much. Have a wonderful rest of your week, and have a great night. Thanks, everybody. Take care. Oh, John, Blue Sky. It's just another social media. I know we have a Quizizz account there now that some folks run. I have my one as well. Yes, Carrie, it's the new Twitter. Thank you. That's the best way to put it. Yeah. But yeah, if you want to hop on there, I have my stuff for Quizizz. I answer any questions. Happy to show any features, create videos, anything I can do to help out. That's what I'm all about. All right. And on that note, have a wonderful evening and have a great rest of your week. Bye, everybody.